Did you have babies shortly after saying I do? Were you just trying to figure out this whole wife life while becoming a mom too? For some, becoming a parent comes a lot sooner than expected, and it can be a total huge whiplash trying to balance it all out while still trying to get to know your husband and make time for one another. Follow along today as I share 5 tips with how to cope when parenthood comes quicker than you expected. Have faith, Mama.
Hey Mama, welcome to Mom Nation. Do you want a better work-life balance and more time and energy? Do you find yourself thinking, how can I add more hours into the day? Or Googling, how to deal with mom guilt and can my marriage survive toddlers? Do you wake up with big goals only to feel overwhelmed and alone and you have no one to help you and your littles aren't listening to you again? Hey, I'm Cheyanne. I too was an exhausted mom away from my family. I too felt drained with a strong-willed toddler and wished I could find balance between being a wife, mom, stepmom, and entrepreneur. I wanted more energy to give my husband, to discipline my kids well, and incorporate Jesus into our home. But I kept telling myself that I just couldn't do it without a community around me. Until I found balance and confidence in raising Jesus-loving littles. In this podcast, you will find time and energy management help, tips for disciplining, and what to do when you have no village, so that you will find balance between all of your roles and trust your own mom tuition. Time to grab those headphones, Mama, pour that green smoothie, and get ready to be mom-inspired. You're no longer alone.
I'll never forget the first moment that I found out I was pregnant. It was on a hot summer day and I was feeling really delirious, balancing those feelings of, oh my gosh, here we are. I've been wanting this my whole life to, oh my gosh, already? Like, there's no way this is happening so soon into our marriage. See, this topic is very personal to me because my husband and I, even though we clearly were not preventing a pregnancy, we're not necessarily expecting one to happen so soon. We had gotten married only 5 months before we found out we were pregnant, and I had just immigrated to my husband's home country of Belgium. And I was still trying to adjust to so much. I was trying to adjust to obviously immigrating, leaving my culture, now all of a sudden aiming to speak and understand in a different language, but also learning what the role of wife meant and putting it into practice and figuring out what that meant with a man from a different culture. Not to mention, I also became a stepmom. And so ultimately, sometimes our plans don't always align with God's plans. And our son was the greatest gift of our life. And looking back now, almost 3.5 years later, and we wouldn't trade him for the world. But there are definitely some struggles that we faced along the way, getting pregnant so soon and immersing children into our honeymoon phase. So if you're there and you too have had kids very early on in your marriage or just a lot of children back to back to back, I know firsthand how it can feel to be a little lost in your relationship with yourself, but especially your husband. We so often can, without even realizing it, suddenly slide our spouses off to the side and not realize, what's happening or how it got there or how can we find a way back to each other. So that is my goal today. I'm going to give you 5 tips that you can take away with you and start applying them into your marriage today to make sure that you continue to grow and can cope with not just parenthood, but wifehood, and move it into a season of flourishment for you and your husband so that you can feel good and actually bring that honeymoon phase into no matter what year of marriage that you're in. So first and foremost, let's start off with the tips. My first tip is going to be to make your marriage a priority. Yes. Now, this is, of course, for every marriage, whether you've been married a year, 10 years, or whether you have kids at year number 5 or like us, month number 5. But especially for you, it's very, very important to make your marriage a priority when you have children so quickly in marriage. Because for you, unlike couples who have been married for many years, you're still discovering your spouse while also discovering yourself as a parent, your husband as a parent, and yourself as a wife. So talk about a lot on your plate. This is where I'm giving you full permission to offer yourselves, yes, including your husband, a lot of grace. There is a big shift that happens when you become a parent or when you take on any big role in life, including becoming one spouse. And when that all meshes in together, it can be really hard to keep up. So this is why I would say it's very important that you, of all marriages, that you would make date nights not just something that's an extra perk for you guys, but you would make it mandatory, even when your kids are little, because it's so important that you don't lose yourself, but that you don't lose your connection with your spouse in the midst of raising littles. Now, date night is very different for every person, and it can mean getting out of the house, asking for help, and going somewhere exclusively when it's just the two of you. But when that's impractical and you can't do that, I would encourage you to find moments in the busy, just in the middle of just your everyday life for just the two of you. Remember, your kids won't be this little forever. So, it's good to remember to embrace those moments, and know that they won't need you this much. It won't last forever, but in this season, it's still important to make your marriage a priority and put it where it belongs. And my tip number 2 is, now that you've made your marriage a priority, second, we want you to set up a system with your husband. Basically means coming together and being totally honest with one another about what is working and what is not. This is where you and your husband get to be completely raw and honest and just say, okay, hey baby, like our kids are taking a lot of our time, a lot of our energy, but I still I find us important. What do you feel good about right now? Where is your soul and our marriage being fed, and where is it being drained right now? You can get ideas from your husband so that you don't put all of this on your plate and make it feel like it's something that you have to figure out and you have to do all alone. Again, as I said in the last point, remember that, your little Johnny is, not going to be, potty training forever. Maybe right now he is not potty trained, but you really want to solve your big stressors that are happening in your life that aren't working for you and your husband right now. So say, again, with the example of potty training, maybe, he's not potty trained now, but you can't wait until he gets there and you just want him to get there. But since he's not there right now, don't stress about getting him potty trained, and don't allow it to cause continuous fights between you and your husband. Allow it to bring you to the realization, okay, like this is where I want my child, but they're not ready. And we are going to aim to get on the same page. How can we set up a system that is something that works for the both of us, and aiming to have those open communication about parenting beliefs and values, because that's also something that comes out in any marriage. And it can be quite alarming when you haven't been married that long and then you have a bunch of different littles and you're confronted with all of these things that you're like, where did that come from? Or I can't believe you think that way. But again, give yourselves lots of grace, because you are both in this together. This is something that the more and more you can see it as a team and coming together, the better that you guys are going to do this parenting thing together and have a better cohesion and connection as a team. My third tip for helping you cope with having kids when it comes quicker than you expect is to surround yourself with other moms who also had kids soon in marriage. This is just kind of a principle in life that it's so important that when you are experiencing some really big life changes or challenges, to surround yourself with someone that basically can say, hey, me too, and make you feel like you're not alone and you're not crazy, and also keep you really centered, because it can be so easy to open up and share these things with other mom friends who maybe may have the best intentions in their heart, but they may not understand what it is to not have had as maybe many years or conversations, or just had been able to build a solid ground as you and your husband didn't have, because you became parents so quickly. So it's important to find a community of other moms who just get it, who are in that same boat, who can speak the same language, and moms who also can just listen. You don't always want moms in your life that just want to give you advice, again, because they may be coming at it from a totally different perspective. And even when they really mean it with the best intentions, it can accidentally ends up being more harm than good for you. Just like medicine, right? A little bit in the specific dose is perfect, is what you need, but too much can actually do more harm than good. So I know that myself, living so far away from my family, at this point I'm about 5,000 miles from my closest family member, it can be really hard to know and to know who can I open up to and where do I make friends like this. I live in a culture who traditionally people actually don't get married, so it is very hard sometimes to find families that have a very similar makeup to ours. So what I would encourage you is that I have a place that I've created, and it's somewhere we can all connect and we can all join. I have this private online community Facebook group called Moms of Littles, a support and community group. And I would love to have you come join us if you need other moms just like this in your life. There are many moms that have this very similar circumstance. And so if you're interested, go to the show notes and I've put the link to the group below. We've made it to point number 4. This might be one of the more challenging ones. That's why I've saved it for one of the last ones. Number 4, mama tip is to die to pride. Basically, I'm encouraging you to get yourself more help than you perhaps normally would. We all have these mindsets, right? We all have these beliefs about what will our life be like when we become a wife, when we become a mother. So many women, we start, believing and dreaming about this when we're really little girls, when we would play with Barbies or when we would watch Disney films. And so often, as most of us all experience, you have little shifts or sometimes really big shifts, coming to that realization in your own life that things are a little different than you expected, and the same thing comes to maybe you didn't imagine having children so quickly on in marriage, but you find yourself here. This is your reality. So the best thing you could do is shifting your expectations and, again, imagining something that's a little different than what you dreamed of. Maybe you never imagined hiring a nanny. Maybe you never thought you'd ever think of getting a maid. But you know what? It's time to give yourself the help that you need. I promise you, I've been a wife now for 4.5 years and a mom for almost 3, and I've never received a prize for doing it all. I wish I did, but there's no prize for doing it all. And especially at the cost of our marriage, we don't want our marriage to crumble because we think we have to do this and we have to do that. And that's our responsibility and we got to do that. So again, I want to encourage you, get more help, even if that just means something as simple as swapping date nights with another mom friend or organizing play dates. It doesn't have to necessarily be something that costs you money or that you need to go hire someone professionally. It can be asking for help from friends, from family, people that are already around you that may even be in the same or similar situation as you that could just be looking for someone to help them out. So again, you never know unless you ask, unless you reach out, and I couldn't encourage you to do more so than now, mama. And last but certainly not least, you've made it to tip number 5. So here we go, mama. You are doing so well, and I hope you're feeling even more encouraged with how to cope with parenthood when it comes a lot quicker than you expected. Number 5 is basically set yourself up for success. Take a good, honest moment and just realize that you don't have the luxury that other moms do. You don't have as much of a solid foundation perhaps that they had to be able to build their marriage on. Maybe you don't have as much help around you. Maybe you've had multiple littles. Maybe you have a 3, 2, and a 1-year-old or one on the way, and you just have so much responsibility. But I want that to be permission for you to just let it go and stop the comparison, to not compare yourself to other moms, especially ones that are not in your situation. What's so important is that you learn to create systems and embrace strategies and plans that work for you for where you are right now. I know firsthand that we all want to imagine a healthier, more energetic, more vibrant woman that we want to be. And that can be really overwhelming and downright depressing when you don't have it, when you're swarming, you're drowning underneath all of the expectations that little kids and demands that they have on us. But that's why it's important to discover, where are those drainers in your life? What is zapping all of your energy? And do we actually need to do all those things? Where are the ones that we can control and what are the ones that we can't? What shifts and changes can we make? And to own them and to really discover them and then to make those changes often. That's what's beautiful about life, is that it's ever flowing and we are ever growing. And we just have to make that choice to move, to shift, to grow, and to not get too stuck. If you're a mom of littles, then I'm sure if you're listening to this, you know firsthand that kids don't stay the same. It's like right when they are experiencing one milestone, they're moving on to the next. And you're allowed to do that as well. You're allowed to make changes and shifts and figure it out as you go and make mistakes and fail your way forward. If you are struggling in that area specifically and you really want a new lease on life, you really want to believe that you can have a piece of it all, that you can have time and energy for yourself, for your husband, and for your kids, and to raise them the way you want, well, I'm going to tell you that you can. And again, it just takes the right clarity and creating systems in that clarity that work for you where you are right now, so that you can feel confident and empowered as a woman, as you deserve to be, for the wife you want to be, for the wife you deserve to be, the mother, and of course, ultimately, the woman that you are, that God created you to be. If you're struggling in that area, you don't have to anymore. I want to encourage you to go to the show notes below and click on the link where I talk about my More Energy Method coaching. I've just created a brand new one-on-one coaching program where I take you through the steps that you need to have this a reality in your life, to have more energy, to decrease stress, and instead increase energy and vibrance in your life. I would love to talk with you more. I would love to share with you more about how we can set this up in your life. So again, go to the show notes below. I've got a link for you to check it out. I've got my email that you can reach out to me with any questions. And just know that if you need someone to believe in you, I'm here. I'm right here ready to high five you and encourage you on forward. And just know that the season that you're in, it won't last forever. And you are worthy. You are worthy of being that woman that you want to be. Hey mama, so good to have you still with me. What did you think? Did you jot down any of those notes? Are any of those 5 tips really, really standing out to you? Well, I'd love to hear which one meant the most to you. And one of the best ways you can do that is by coming to join me in my Facebook community group that I made just for moms of littles. You can find the link below, and I'd be so excited to hear what you love most about today's episode. You can also hop on over to Apple Podcasts and leave me a little rating and a review. It's actually the only way I know which content you enjoy, and it's a win-win because then it helps me grow the show and helps me give you back the content and answer the questions that you have on your mind as a mom of littles. So go for it. Get going, mama. I'll see you over there at Apple Podcasts, and I look forward to joining you on another episode here at Mom Nation. Hey mama, do you wish there was a way to have more time for yourself as a mom of littles? How about having more energy for your husband without constantly being physically exhausted and emotionally drained by your mom life? I know what it feels like to want more from your life than just being a mom, while also balancing feelings of guilt or desiring to spend time on yourself. I know what it feels like to be overwhelmed with where to begin with implementing healthy changes and being totally lost in how to try to create a realistic, sustainable plan that doesn't rely on either coffee for energy or wine to de-stress. I know what it feels like to think I just can't be energetic while I parent a household full of littles that demand so much of me. Now, instead of that, I want you to imagine if you knew exactly what was draining your energy. Imagine if you no longer felt completely exhausted at the end of your day. if you have the time to go on dates with your husband and you have the energy to give yourself some much needed me time. Imagine if you had easy to implement systems and strategies that would allow you to be that energetic and vibrant mama you want to be, all while still raising your kids the way that you want and that feels good to you. Well, that's why I created More Energy Method Coaching, where I teach you to stop stressing and get your energy back as a mom of littles for good. You will be able to stick with a super simple, easy to follow plan that establishes new healthy habits without taking away focus from your kids or require huge commitments of time. You'll walk away with laser focused clarity and confidence that'll help you feel empowered as a woman, wife, and mother to make the changes you need to make and to make them for good. So mama, if you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed in your everyday life and instead regain that long-lasting energy through a customized framework based on your own busy mama lifestyle with support, accountability, and TLC from me, then there's no time like the present, as I have only 5 coaching spots for the month of March as I prep for our baby coming in May. For the first 3 people to sign up with a coaching spot, I have a 20% off discount. But it's first come, first serve. So when they're gone, they're gone. And I go on maternity leave in April. So you won't get another chance like this for at least another 6 months. So go into your inbox and email me at CheyanneClayman@gmail.com. That's CheyannE Clayman, CLEYMAN@gmail.com. I promise you'll stop stressing and get ready to raise the kids of your dreams the way you want and still have ample amount of energy for you and your husband. It's time, mama.
With all the overwhelming and hard choices a new mom has to make, where you get you and your baby's top-notch nutrition shouldn't be one of them. Ever since I first began my fertility journey, I've trusted one place with all of my women's wellness needs. A company and brand that truly goes above and beyond with their cleaning and natural products. I mean, they even pray over their supplements. Yep, I'm talking about Pink Stork, a woman-owned, American-based women's wellness company that has products for every area of a woman's needs. Everything from fertility, pregnancy, prenatal, postnatal, nursing, menopause, to even a brand new line of men's fertility products and vitamin drops for babies. See why it's my one-stop shop, mama? I can shop in peace and good vibes when I have Pink Stork in my shopping cart. And so can you. Go check out my own link below or visit holyhealthyhappymama.com/pinkstork to check out my personal favorites list and grab yourself 15% off with code CheyanneC15. You won't be disappointed.